Hello, everybody. Welcome to Life Uncommon. Right. Trying to figure out how to do which one. There we go. Okay. Yep. There we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So we are live here. My name is Andrea, for those of you who don't know.
And I'm Alita, and it's good to be here today.
Yes.
Although it seems like there's a lot going on, right now.
Yeah. So I just wanted to put a little note out there too that we are doing our shows on Thursdays now, Thursday afternoon. We're not saying it's set in concrete because it might shift from time to time, but we let you guys know. But for right now, for sure, we are doing it on Thursdays afternoon, around 1:15-ish, Belize time, So we'll try to get started around between 1:15 to 1:30, depending on how things are going. Because we have a lot going on too.
Yeah. Well, I know we were talking about how to get started, and when you're looking at social media and seeing what's happening like right now, and one of the things that's happening in Belize right now is seriously disturbing.
Yeah.
And we can't pretend like we don't know what's happening. We all heard the reports or read the report of this 17-month-old baby that was raped. And from what I read, it was vaginally and anally. And it just breaks my heart to know that something like that happened to a child. And it's not something anybody can make sense out of.
Yeah.
We can all keep asking why, but there's no reason that would justify something like this happening. It was a malicious act. It was done by somebody who, I don't know if this person didn't have any control over themselves or what was going on, but it's disgusting. It's vile.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah. It is very shocking. And I feel like what you said, there's so many things going on in this country right now. Like, Belize is just, I feel like so much wickedness, so many heartbreaking things. And this is just one of the latest ones that's right now on social media, especially. I see a lot of comments from people who are outraged, who are shocked. I've seen comments of people saying, hold your little ones closer, watch them close, don't let anybody get near them. And, my heart goes out to the mom of this little girl and the family that loved her, a 17-month-old. They're so precious. I mean, all life is wonderful and precious, but I mean, when you have a little baby, there's just something so sweet and so awesome about them that people just love little babies. And I think that is why there's such an outrage and shock and sadness, because something so wicked that we can't even wrap our minds around has taken place. And so we're hearing a lot of different reports, and we don't want to say anything really that we're not, that is not confirmed officially, but definitely we are saddened, we're shocked. I think we ourselves are doing a lot like what other people are doing, asking questions like, why? What led to this? Like, how can anybody do this? What type of person would do something like that? And, I've seen people say, oh, they should hang him, they should do this, they should do that. And I want to say that it is a discussion that needs to take place, but we have to look at why these things happen and how we can protect our babies and protect our kids from this ever happening again. But I don't know.
And when you read through the comments, I think one of the things that upset me when I first started reading through the comments, people were, I blame the mother, I blame the mother, I blame the mother right away.
Oh, you saw that?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
okay.
I did. And I was so shocked. It's like, but the mother's not the one that violated the child. You know, we need to always focus on blaming the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at all these other people to blame the perpetrator first and foremost. You know, put the heaviest lashing on him.
Yeah. Because
he's the one that created this situation. He's the one that put this child in danger, that ruined this child's life. You know, I know that there are so many different circumstances. I don't know how this child got into the care of this person.
Yeah.
But we can't automatically say let's blame the mother.
Exactly. I think it's just one of those things where when something this tragic happens, the first thing is we look for somebody to blame.
Right.
And so the blame naturally will go, instead of going to who actually, like what you said, did it, they will start saying, well, how come he got access to her? Where was the mother? And then we don't know the full story yet. We don't know everything that happened. So I would say, yes, you're outraged and you're shocked and saddened and all the different emotions that we're all feeling, but refrain from really typing or venting on Facebook without really knowing the full scope of what happened here. So all that I would say is we need to, offer or show our support to the family of those, of this little girl. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess over the next couple of days, we will see, or hear more about this and what has taken place or what led to this. I already see pictures of the person going around.
I know, and I wondered if that was the actual person or if that's just, so we don't want to say anything that's not true or keep telling tales on somebody that is innocent. I wouldn't want to do that either.
Yeah.
But do just keep this situation in the forefront of your minds. And I really, we do need to find better ways of protecting children.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really, I feel at a loss for words. I really do, because it's just the most horrific thing I've heard of in such a long time. And when I started seeing my friends posting about it, I thought that can't be right.
Yeah.
And I tried to go to different news stories and different places no, you heard that wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shock to the system. It really is. So.
All right. Well, for those of you who followed us last week, you will know that we were talking about the day I lost my voice. And we decided that we were going to try to split it up in two because there was so much to cover and so many things to talk about. And so we did split it in two. And so today we are going to talk about the day I got my voice back, or things that we can do to reclaim that, to get our voice back. And remember, we were using the voice, I think interchangeably with my identity or with your identity.
Right.
So your voice is pretty much that. And it all started, so maybe we could just do a quick little summary of how we came about that for those who are just tuning in for the first time. So it started from this book called, trying to get the correct.
There it is.
This way. All right. The Dream of You by Joe Saxton. And this was the book that inspired us to do this topic. And I just finished reading it today. And, when I finished reading it, I wrote her on Twitter and told her about it. So, but her main question was, who were you before life told you who you were supposed to be? And I don't even remember what I told her, but I think I summed it up by saying that I felt like there was such an anointing on her book.
Yeah.
I told her it was the first book that, let me see, I'm trying to pull it up, but I don't know if I can pull it up. But I think what I said was that was the first book that made me want to weep.
Oh,
throughout the
really?
whole book.
Yeah.
And so that really, really stood out to me when I was reading the book. And I think I told you at one point, like, I just felt like weeping.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's such a powerful
It
book.
really is. Yeah.
And life-changing, and also hard because it makes you really have to look at what
Mm-hmm.
what's going on and where your life is at. You know, she talks about letting go of broken identities and live the life you were made for. And to live the life you are made for, you need to know that. You need to know what you were made for. So so much good stuff in this book, and we hope to be able to summarize a little bit of it, and hope that you will be encouraged and want to also live the life that you were made for.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a powerful book. And I remember I had a chance to read it over the Christmas break, and it was just powerful. I feel like every chapter, every paragraph, you know, she had something that I was able to identify with and just really latch onto.
Yeah.
And knowing that there are some common themes, you know, that go through all of our lives as women, that many of us experience that time of losing our voice and having to find our way back to who we are. You know?
Yeah.
And that's not always an easy road. To get back to where you know you're supposed to be, because for some of us, if we lost our voices very, very young, then you never really had that sense of identity to begin with, and you've got to start to formulate it. You know.
Yeah. And so for those of you who didn't see for the first one, it's on our page. So after this, you can go and check out that first one. Is called Part 1, The Day I Lost My Voice, Part 1. So you can go check that out. But we shared about how, you know, certain incidents that took place that caused us to lose our voice. And so today we're going to talk about how to get our voice back. And so that's really what we're going to be focusing on. And there's 3 things. She said something that really stood out to me about that. So let me pull up the chapter.
Yeah.
And I would read this book while I'm waiting for my daughter. Once I had some free time, and quiet, I was reading it because it's not, you told me it was an easy read, but it's not an easy read in the sense that you can browse through it.
No.
You really have to slow down.
Yeah.
And so, but she says here, if you're going to embrace your God-given identity, reclaim your voice, and live out your purpose, it will be a fight. You'll need to learn how to name, confront, and slay the giants that stand in the way of the life you were made for. Now, 3 words popped out here to us: embrace, reclaim, and live out your purpose. Those are the 3 words. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that too, of embracing, reclaiming, and living out.
And with embracing, I love that word. Embracing your identity, and to be able to do that, you have to know whose you are.
Yeah.
And she talks about that in the book, several different places. Knowing that you are a child of God, knowing who you are in Him, helps you to be able to embrace your God-given identity.
Yeah. So it's very key that, I think it causes us to have to do a lot of soul searching for sure. Going back to our Creator who made us, because He is the one that has the original blueprint. He knows exactly, like the verse that she talked a lot about too was that I am wonderfully and fearfully made. Like God knew us before even one of our days were. And so we need to go back to Him to find out who we are and who we were meant to be. It's not too late to do that. So I'm trying to type out the...
there you go. Embrace, reclaim, and live out. Yeah.
So if you're watching or tuning in today, we would love to hear from you guys. All right.
I like that the ending part that you read too, Andrea. You'll need to learn how to name, confront, and slay the giants that stand in the way of the life you were made for. And I think learning how to name those different giants, is something that we may not always take the time to sit down and do. Figuring out what it is that got in your way or who it is. Yeah. Maybe it's some fears or some insecurities that you've been holding on to for a long time. Maybe it's even your thought life, the pattern of the way you think about things. That could be the giant that you need to name. Because once you can put a name to it, then it seems like you can do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that is very, very key. We have to name those things. Now, I'm going to jump a bit because as you said that, there's another chapter in the book where she talked about the Valley of Dry Bones. Now this was the part that made me really want to just weep. I felt like it was so heavy because she brought this verse out, or this whole scene out, in a way I've never seen it before, where she says God took Ezekiel to this valley of dry bones. Now Ezekiel is a priest, and they weren't allowed back then to come in touch with anything dead, right? Because they would become defiled. But God took him through that valley, and she was talking about how God led him through every single, like, up and down the valley, because he had to face that devastation. He had to see, what that felt like, what the bones. He had to see the destruction. He had to see the loss. And she was saying that maybe his wife was among those bones. People that he loved was among those bones. And she said here, the Spirit of God walked Ezekiel in the valley and confronted the priest with the extent of his devastating loss. God led Ezekiel back and forth along the valley floor, uncovering everything, making sure everything had been stripped away. He was with Ezekiel in the ruins of his life. God stood with him in grief. And that really stood out to me, especially when you were saying about naming these giants or naming these things. There will come a point where you will have to go into that valley and look at those things, the things that you lost, the things that devastated your life, and reclaim those stuff. But first you have to name them.
Right.
So,
that's good.
Yeah, it was very good.
I mean, this book is incredible, and you really need to get a copy.
Yes.
It's available on Kindle, on Amazon. It's available at bookstores, but you really do need to get a copy of this book, because Jo Saxton really, it's mind opening and life changing. I think when you can really go through something like this, and allow it to make a difference in your life. Yeah.
I want to say hey to Felicia. She's watching, and so I know other people are watching too. I just can't see who. So do you see?
Chantal.
Okay.
Marion.
Hi, ladies. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yep. And feel free to drop a comment below.
Yes.
We would like or love or whatever. We would love to hear from you ladies today. And if you have any questions or input, drop them in the comment below or send us a message on our page.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, Felicia. Felicia. I'm calling you Felicia because of one of my friend who kept saying, bye, Felicia. Okay. All right.
Well, what do you think about embracing your God-given identity? When I think about that, I remember I was doing a talk one time, and I couldn't believe that they actually wanted me to be the one to be the speaker, because I'm not as like bold and dynamic and as I think that speakers ought to be. But part of my God-given identity is being a little more quiet. I do like to listen. I volunteer as a counselor. So if I were loud and wild. It would be hard for people to come in and speak with me.
Yeah.
So part of my God-given identity is embracing that part of me that's quiet and likes to listen and ask questions and help people figure out how to get to wholeness and health, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think there are times when we want those gifts that everybody else has. You know, we want to be that dynamic person. We want to be that charismatic one that everybody looks to.
Yeah.
But that may not be part of our God-given identity.
Yeah. And that is key, because a lot of time we miss out on living the life we're supposed to live because we're so busy looking at the other person's life and wanting to live their life.
Right.
But that's not who we're meant to be. Like, I'm the talker, you're the listener.
Exactly.
So, you know, I would just like, be so, yeah, it would be really hard for me to be a listener. You know, I try, and I've been asking the Lord to help me to learn to listen, because we all have to listen.
Yeah.
But I am naturally a talker, and you're naturally a listener. You prefer to listen, but you also speak when you have to speak.
Yes.
And so that is very key for us to dig deep and to look at who were you made to be? Who were you created to be? What are the natural giftings and talents that you have already that maybe you're pushing aside because you think that somebody else's gifting or their life is better than yours, or you want that life?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So once you identify, once you can name, and then you embrace that, whatever it is that you're supposed to be, that whatever you're maybe running away from too.
Yeah.
Then it's reclaiming it, and it's looking at it differently. So you'll have to, like what you said, change the way that you talk, change the way you think first, I think, because you have to change the way you think before you can change the way how you talk.
Definitely.
So,
definitely.
Yeah, that just came to me. I'm going to write that down.
And, you know, I was thinking about that word reclaim. I love to watch those TV shows where they redo old houses and things like that, you know, and they'll reclaim some old wood, and they go in and they strip all the paint off of it and sand it down and make it smooth, and then, you know, recover it, refinish it. And so that's part of the process that we have to do too. You know, if we're going to go and reclaim something that we used to have, we're going to have to make sure that it's polished, that we get it refined, that we work on those areas of our lives and take it back and make it ours again. Yeah. Because those parts of us that maybe we didn't think were so beautiful, when it's all added up together, it is beautiful. You know, when God puts us all back together. Yeah.
And I think, again, so I'm kind of going off of what you're saying. I'm listening. See, I'm practicing the listening. Because I think when you're talking, I feel like the Lord is giving me something else to share. So you're talking about reclaiming, and you talked about working with something, with, you know, and so the Lord was saying to me that, yes, reclaiming is not as easy as it sounds too, because you have to work at it.
Yes.
It's something that will require effort, determination, persistence, all those things, because you'll have to keep at it until it becomes what it's supposed to be. And so I was going to my good friend, Mr. Google, and he was telling me that one of the definitions for reclaim is to bring under cultivation.
Yes.
So it says, like, bring wasteland or a land formerly underwater under cultivation. So something that has been dead or left to rot away, or you know, something left outside. You know how furniture gets when it's left outside and the sun beats on it, the rain beats on it. Also retrieve or recover. You know, so those are reclaiming your identity or voice will take some work, but if you have enough courage to pursue it, it will be worth it. And after reclaiming, then it's
live out. So you embrace your God-given identity, you reclaim your voice, and then it's time to start living out your purpose. Whatever it is that you believe that God is calling you to do, whatever it is you believe God has gifted you for, because each one of us has a different purpose in life. Each one of us has has been given a different set of tools, of talents, of gifts that we can work with. Yeah. And God can use our individual makeup to bring about the work that he wants to have happen in this world. Yeah. You know, just thinking about the issue that we were talking about at the very beginning. You know, we have a lot of strong voices in this country, people that are trying to speak out for children, for women. And this is the beginning of Child Stimulation Month, you know, and so we were all expecting to be pouring into the lives of children. But now is a time, you know, if whoever it is that needs to rise up and be an advocate for children like this. You know, these are the times when we can find our voices. Yes. And begin to live out the purpose that God has for us. Yeah. Yeah. She mentioned something very powerful too. She says that we should tell ourselves the truth to silence the lies. Yes. And I thought that was such a powerful sentence or line right there. And she talked about how God wanted her to exchange voices of the culture, the lies, and her own insecurity that named her body as useless. She was referring to her the way she saw herself physically. But I think this goes for every part of us too, even our mindset. Like, maybe you feel like you have a voice, but is that your voice, or is that the voice of the culture? Is that the voice of somebody else? What lies have you been holding on to for a long time? And she's saying that we have to tell ourselves the truth to silence the lies. And so what she did, she started to speak the word of God over her life. And so she asked herself this question: which would be the louder voice in my life? Would it be the word of God, or would it be the voice of the culture around me, or what other people are saying? And so I think it is very key that we start speaking the word of God, what God says about you, what he says about your situation, how he sees you, because that is very important for reclaiming your voice, for embracing it, and for living out your purpose. You have to go back to what God says. Because if you try to do it any other way, it's a temporary fix, really. Yeah. Definitely. So living out your purpose is a biggie. You know, is finding that purpose and then making that conscious effort to start living out your purpose. So we would love to hear from you, ladies that are tuning in today. I know we have a bunch of you watching, so. What do you think about this topic? What's on your heart as we're sharing? Is there anything that's coming up to you? Have you read the book? Is this the first time you're hearing it? Drop us a line. We would love to hear what you're thinking at this point so far about your identity and all of that. Yeah. And it's really interesting to me that when you live out your purpose, that last part of that quote you had there, it will be a fight. You know, that it's not something that we can just walk straight into sometimes. You know, a lot of times it takes effort on our part. And I think that's where some of us give up, because we think it should be easy. You know, that if this is my God-given purpose, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then God will make the way perfectly straight, you know, and I won't have any detours or anything to work through. But that's not always true. Thank you, my friend. You're awesome. And I love you too. It's The Dream of You. Jo Saxton. They have it. She has it in ebook and what do you call this? Printed paperback. Yeah. It's such a powerful book. I highly, highly recommend. Thank you, Marion. She says, absolutely awesome. Oh, great. All right. Great. So she says here that it seems that when God redeems a person's identity and leads her to her purpose, there's a backdrop of battle and vulnerability. Vulnerability. Yes, there is. Yeah.
And so again, I think I wanted us, and I think we both were going to go that way. Or am I jumping the gun about naming the giants, like confronting and slaying the giants that stand in your way? And when I see the word confront, I get nervous because I don't like confrontation. People may think I do because I like to talk a lot, but I do run away from confrontation. I don't like it. But it doesn't necessarily mean confronting another person.
No.
Maybe for you, it might be a person who's standing in your way, and you might have to tell that person something. Don't go cussing out anybody and say, Andrea says so.
But it could be you yourself that's standing in your own way, you know, and you need to get out of your way so that you can do the things that you know that you're being called to do.
Yeah. You might need to cuss your own self out. All right. So she was talking about some giants that might be in your way. Okay. So the first in line is a giant that makes you feel small and intends to keep you feeling that way. So Marion is saying she's waving. Okay, we're waving back. All right. So what is it that makes you feel small and intends to keep you feeling that way? That's the first giant that you will need to get rid of, because we talked about this last week, that we make ourselves small most of the time. So it could be that you're the one making yourself small, or it could be somebody else making you feel small and fully intends to keep you that way.
And you know, it could be those voices from childhood or from wherever that are, you know, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
You know, and when we carry around that who do you think you are message, it does get in the way with who we know God created us to be. You know, we're asking those, it's those little tiny questions sometimes that can really bring down the whole house on top of you. Yeah.
That is so true. Because the lies of the enemy will not be on a bullhorn. It won't be on loudspeakers. It always starts small. It creeps in a silent little whisper, and you're like, okay. And I think that's how the enemy is. He's very strategic in what lies he brings in, and it's never loud or noticeable at first. It's just as what Alida was saying. Now she says here that sometimes the giant appears in the expectations others have placed on us. This is a biggie.
That is a biggie.
Like Jesse with David, and we're talking about in the Bible here. People see what they need us to be.
Yes.
Ooh, this is good, right?
Yes.
It's good, right?
People see what they need us to be.
They don't see all that we already are. Wow. Sometimes we can't step into all that God has for us because of the duties and expectations we place on ourselves. We run errands when God has designed us to slay giants. Nelson Mandela once stated, "There is no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." Girls, girlfriend.
Yes, really.
You need to get this book. It's so good. And so much truth in this paragraph right here. Wow. People see what they need us to be. They don't see all that we already are.
Yeah.
So what can we do to fix that? Because
you know, that's a hard one.
That's
I think,
very hard,
because it almost feels like it's an uphill climb. Because people, it seems like there are times when people want to put you in a box and say this is who you are and this is all that you can do. And if you step outside of that, you know, then you're outside of God's will. But how can somebody else really see all that God has intended for you?
If you're not doing it, if you're not living it.
If you're not living it, yeah.
And so I think that's the key. You have to live that.
Right.
You have to know who you are, because I read or heard somebody say that you are the one who tells people how to treat you.
Exactly.
So it's us. Which shoulder is showing? The camera messes me up. I'm like, okay, which one? Yeah, it's us.
There.
Us.
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
It's us. Yeah.
I like what she says too, that we can't step into all that God has for us because of the duties and expectations we place on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good one too. Yeah. I kind of want to stay right there, you know.
I know, and I keep thinking
sink
about, yeah. I know for me, I think I have had people in my life that had certain expectations of what I would do and who I would become, and you know, and some of that starts when you're really young. You know, I know my grandmother had a certain picture or image of me in her head. And my mother had an image of me in her head, and there were teachers along the way, and Sunday school teachers, pastor. Everybody seems to have something that they think is what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, we've got a. Yeah. Do you want to read that?
When God places something in your heart to tell someone that what they're doing is wrong, and He can't bless them with what is rightfully theirs if they keep holding on to what's not theirs and bringing pain to other people. How do you deal with such a situation when you love the person and you don't want to hurt them? Do we obey anyways? Help. That's a good question.
That's a very good question. Let's see that again. God places something in your heart to tell someone that they're doing this wrong. I think when God places something like that on your heart, I think you have to know that you know that you know that God put a message on your heart for somebody else, and that He will give you the words to be able to say it in a way that they can hear it. And I can remember, I think it was last year or maybe the year before, I was going through a difficult situation, and you had something to tell me, but you weren't sure about it. And so you just, you said it anyway. You put it in a message and you told it to me. And I was able to receive it because I understood what God was trying to say to me. But I think if she had framed it a different way, you know, it may have been a message that would have gone over my head. You know, I wouldn't have seen how it applied to me. So I think if you have permission to speak into that other person's life, you know, usually we give our friends, we give people we love permission to speak into our lives and to help us out. And if you've got permission to speak into that person's life, and you know that God has told you to say this, then you need to say it and allow God to do the work. Allow the Holy Spirit.
And usually if the Lord is telling you to say something, He's already doing something in that person's heart. He's already preparing the heart. And like my pastor always says that before he has to tell us something not harsh, but strong, that maybe you might not like, he always says, you know that I love you, right? And this may be hard, but I love you. So that person needs to know that you're speaking into their life because you love them, and it's not to judge or to condemn, but it's out of love. And like Alida said, you have to be pray about how to address it, how to say it. So there are certain things that God might show you, but you can't say all of that to that person. So you might just have to ask the Holy Spirit to lead you in that, like how to say it in a loving way. And if the person doesn't receive it, you did your part. And if they receive it, glory to God. Glory to God either way. But again, like Alida said, you want to make sure that you heard from the Lord and that you're doing it out of love, and that person knows that you love them, and how to say it in a gentle way that it won't cause further damage to that person. So I hope that helps. And it sounds like you do really care about the person, because some people just blurt out stuff, you know? So that's a good question, Mel. I think a lot of people blurt out things and say, well, God says so, and you're born in hell. But no. So from the minute that you are, cautious and you're careful about how to say it, it shows that you do care a lot about this person. And I hope that they will be able to receive that from you.
So and then that was the first giant, right? The giant that makes you feel small. And then there was another one.
Wait, I want. There's some more on this page.
Okay, good. Let's do that. Let's do that.
I just saw this, and you hinted to this too. It says, "We're held back by the giant's insults. Who do you think you are?
Mm-hmm.
You're just a mom. You're just a woman. You're just too young. You're too old. Listen, just leave the dreaming to the big boys." Or in the name of limiting us, the giant begs us to hold on to the safety of our insecurities and be content with the status quo. So these are things that you will come face to face with. Maybe some of you are already facing some of these issues already. And for me, I know I struggled with the "you're just a mom" thing.
Yeah.
When I stepped away from youth ministry, I was no longer a youth leader. In my mind, I was no longer anybody that somebody could look up to. I was just a mom. Just a mom.
How can you even say those words, just and a mom? Because it is such a huge responsibility. Exactly. It is such an incredible job.
Exactly.
So those words, just a mom, they don't even go together.
Mm-hmm. Scratch it out.
Scratch it out. Scratch it out.
Okay. Felicia said she just bought it. Awesome, girl.
Awesome.
You're gonna love it.
You will love it.
I want to hear from you. Okay, I want to hear what you think about it.
Yes.
Okay. And Mel says, "Thank you. This was so helpful, and I'm going to continue praying about it for God to give me the right words." That's awesome.
Amen.
Mel. I hope it goes well for you.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, because we don't have a lot of time.
I know.
Next one. Some giants are not just one obstacle. This is a big one. I think we might have to stop at this one.
Okay.
Some giants are not just one obstacle or one force, but an ill-defined yet noisy lot known as they. Too many of us choose not to use our voices because we are worried about what they, either real people or perceived judgment of us, will think.
Yeah. What will they think?
What will they think?
What will they say? What will they do? How will they treat me? Yeah.
This is one of my giants.
Really?
You know? Yep. And
Really?
I'm gonna cut the ankles off first because and so but it has been a biggie, and I think just this year I can say something that I feel like I'm more on the top now of. But it's so hard to not worry about what they will think. And so for a long time, I was worried about what they think. So I wouldn't do certain things. I wouldn't wear certain things. I wouldn't go certain places because I'm concerned about what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, I feel like a lot of women probably felt or feels the same way, worrying about what they will feel, at a certain point in my life. I didn't want to come out of my house because I didn't want to be under the scrutiny of my neighbors.
Yeah. Well, that fear of rejection is powerful.
Yeah.
That concern that you're not good enough, that who you are as a person can't match up to who everybody else is and what everybody else is doing. And that they just keeps growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger until it is a giant that we just feel like we can't face on our own.
Yeah, but we got to do like what David did.
Yes.
David did not allow what they thought to hinder him, because again, David had a relationship with the Lord. And when you have a relationship with the Lord, that will empower you to do some crazy things that David did.
Yes. Well, David, even to get up to where he was, there's a story she talks about how David initially had to push back at his brother. His own brother was like, trying to get in the way. And because I think sometimes the people that are closest to us, they can't always see what all of our gifts are either. And this is an older brother seeing this little brother, it's like, go back to the sheep. This isn't a fight for you. You don't understand what's going on here.
And that older brother was jealous too.
Yes. But David had to ignore those voices. He had to go against that and do what it was that he knew he was supposed to do.
I'm going to translate this in Creole. David said, "Boy, what's wrong with you? You say I do anything? I don't do nothing. I only ask a question and I have to behave so." That's what David says. So somehow we have to tell Elias, was it? What was it? Eliab. I have to tell Elias, like, what's wrong with you? Try for me.
Try for me.
Yeah. So in Creole, that was what David told Eliab. Try for me, boy. When I sit down here and run from the jet, I'm going to chop off your head. So, but she said something here. She said it's natural and healthy to be aware of what people think of you. Mm-hmm. But when the approval of others determines if and how you live into your purpose, you're facing and giving into a big giant.
Yes. So yeah. And I like this, fighting for their approval is not your calling. You know, that fighting for somebody else's approval, that is not your calling. That's not what God asked you to do. And that's not the focus of our lives. Walking into what God is doing is your calling. But fighting for their approval is not your calling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wanna get that, ladies? Yep. Wanna get quiet, Feel free to drop in. And we're getting ready to wrap up. So
yeah,
this is the part where the minister says, if you have anything to say, speak now or wait till next week.
Did you want to read that third giant, or you want to wrap up on giant number 3?
Let's touch that. But I wanted to say, I wanted to just go back to this other paragraph where she says, on other occasions, the giant called they isn't about what people have said or done. Excuse me. It's about what they might say or what they might think. Mm-hmm. The fear of rejection is so strong that it's easier for us to just hold back. Yet, when we step back due to what someone might say, we avoid God's invitation to join him in what he is doing in the world. Yeah. And that to me is similar again to what we've said here on why we've decided to do Life Uncommon, which is calling women to live an uncommon life, to go against the grain, to use your giftings and talents that God has given you to contribute to the world. Because when you don't, it's like, when you don't, you're not joining God in what he's doing in the world. But when you embrace who you are and what God has given to you, you are joining him in what he's already doing in the world. And that's pretty awesome.
That is really awesome. That's very exciting to be joining in with him in his work that he's already gifted and created you to do.
Yeah. So, are you able to do number 3?
Yeah. Okay, giant number 3. Use only your own armor. You are enough. You are enough. I like that. You are enough. Yeah. You know, there was no way when I even try to visualize that passage of scripture where David is putting on Saul's armor and knowing that, you know, there was a big height difference and weight difference. You know, David is a child or a boy, a teenage boy, I think, and Saul is a full-grown man. There's no way that armor is going to fit. And it's not something that David needs.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't need to be walking in somebody else's armor. He is fully equipped with what God gave him, the stones and the sling and everything. You know, the simple things that David has at his disposal are the things that God wants to use.
Exactly. And if it was somebody else that David tried to give his sling to, they probably wouldn't know how to use it because they don't know how to use it. But David knew how to use his sling because it was his. He practiced with it. You know, he had a lot of time practicing watching those sheep. So she says, you will battle the giants that stand in your way, but when you do, don't even try to fight in someone else's armor. And then jumping over to the other page, we touched on this a little bit where she said, how many times have I compared myself with other people and felt inadequate? I have thought, if I had their shiny story, if I had their shiny, strong connections, if I had what they have, I could slay giants. But what I need is what I already have. And I just love that. What I need is what I already have. What you need, ladies, is what you already have to step into what God is calling you to do, to defeat these giants. You already have it. Okay, so Mel says, thank you, ladies. I really enjoyed this session. I feel blessed. So I'm happy to hear that. And Margarita, do you want to read?
I had an actual talk to self and God about a critique. It was, how dare you? Rather than losing sleep, I rebuked that spirit of pride off of me. And the next morning, perceived attack went whoosh. What say you? Never did think it was pride before.
That's good.
That's very good. Yeah.
We have to do that.
We do have to do that. Sit down and have a talk with yourself, have a talk with God, and hear what He has to say. Yeah.
And critique is hard too, especially if and so critique will bring out pride that you never knew existed. And I'm glad you handled it that way, Margarita, instead of allowing that to kind of cause you to come to a standstill. That's awesome. But yeah, so we have everything that we need. You know, we have everything that we need. You don't need to wear someone else's armor. Your story with God, your own gifts will take down giants, even if they look like nothing but pebbles.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
and comparison is so deadly, and it seems like that's a whole topic all by itself.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Because that is huge.
Yeah. All right. So we already know what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about comparison. All right, but it's so true. So, ladies, I hope that, and gentlemen, because I think Tom is watching.
Is he? Oh, good.
Yeah, I saw a little heart there from Tom. Ladies and gentlemen. So, but really, if this has blessed you in some way, and you also know somebody that it will bless, share it with your friends and family, and let them know that we are doing our live Facebook show every Thursday afternoon. And we hope that you will help us to spread the word and share the encouragement. And if it has really touched you in any way, for those of you who may be watching later on, leave a comment. We will read them. We will respond to you all as well. And if you can, get the book. They have the e-book. Because I know
The Dream of You by Joe Saxton.
I know it might be an issue for people getting the paperback here.
Yeah.
If they don't have like a credit card or something to buy it online. But I do hope that you guys can get this book. Maybe we have to talk to Joe and bring Joe to the Belize.
Oh, that would be exciting. I would love that. Maybe Yeah,
we're going to tell Joe to come to Belize and have a big women's hangout, right?
Yes, that would be great. That would be great. So I really do hope that something we shared here today sparked your journey on discovering your God-given identity and being able to embrace that and reclaim your voice and then live out your purpose. We really want to see all of the women and men who have joined us become who they were created and designed to be by God.
Amen. Hallelujah. All right, ladies, we are out of here. And men, we are out of here until next week, Thursday, Lord willing. So we'll see you then. Take care and be blessed.
Be blessed. Bye.